Welcome to the Battle of Tewkesbury Festival, a medieval battle reenactment celebrating one of the major battles of the War of the Roses. The event is held every year on the second weekend of July. The event is free to attend, however, donations are always needed to run such a large event. And if you'd like to donate, the link is in the description and top comment. Just a quick warning, there is cannon fire in the video, so if you have cats or dogs nearby, it might scare them. Thank you and enjoy.
They do a variety of different things. We have different carvers, have different people doing different things to the jewellery as it is.
Nottingham Castle, Castle Donington, Bagworth, but that was never found, so it was probably a wooden palisade. Ashby Castle, where his father was seated,
and around. This way, boy, please. In he comes.
Philosopher. I am neither. There are children present. Number two's fine, is it? Get a charge. You're welcome.
And they are being seen off by some of the Yorkists, longbowmen. Coming onto the field on your left, you can see the remainder of the Lancastrian archers. On your right, you've got the remainder of the Yorkist archers. Their arrows in order to achieve the maximum damage to the enemy. Some of them will be flat shooting, some of them will be lofting to rain down hell from above. English longbow being probably the most effective weapon of warfare at this period. The men have been practicing since they were boys, twice a week by law. Longbow is such an effective weapon that if I take you forward 30 years to one of the last battles of the Wars of the Roses, the corpses on the field at the end of the Battle of Stoke Field were said to be so thickly studded with arrows they resembled hedgehogs. So if you want to multiply these two armies of archers up by maybe 3,000, you get some idea of how the battlefield may have looked. Now,
from the right-hand side rides a messenger, a Lancastrian knight, heading for the Lancastrian archers and the camp behind to tell them that Edward is attacking. This means that when he has carried his message and galloped before you, the Lancastrian army will march up and form into battle array before you. That is superb modern horsemanship. It's very difficult to pack that weight of armour and keep your weight in the saddle distributed without worrying the horse or tipping out of it. That is exceptional horsemanship, ladies and gentlemen.
now, if you'd like to look to your right,
Anjou, leading her bodyguard onto the field, and to her right side, her teenage son, Edward, Prince of Wales, with the three white plumes of the Prince of Wales insignia, which our present Prince of Wales still bears, and by his side, his still quite youthful and pretty mother, carrying her book of hours, her book of prayers, wearing a long black satin gown, and with her regal white headdress billowing behind her. Vive la Reine! Long live Queen Margaret! Behind her, her ladies-in-waiting, and behind them, her picked bodyguards of loyal French and Netherlandish and other continental Europeans, the people of the Crown of Anjou. Anjou. and following her in turn, in striking black and white with a white plume, is the veteran commander of the Lancastrian Centre, Lord Wenlock. Wenlock is an experienced and competent man, but he's changed sides a few times in the preceding wars. He's now fighting for Lancaster and fighting for his life, but the Lancastrians are not quite used to seeing him as a friend. They've given him this vital command because of his ability and his knowledge, but they don't quite trust him. Bear that in mind. And finally, those of you on the right will see marching in front of you now the leader of the right wing of the Lancastrian army. That is the Duke of Somerset, the Beaufort, with his battle axe in his hand, a tall, mustachioed, commanding figure, with a blue and white plume. There are many adjectives for this man: courageous, reckless, charismatic, quick-tempered. He doesn't seem to appreciate my comments. I did call him brave.
Well, if I was you, I'd keep your eye on the...
And the rest of the Lancastrian right wing follow on behind Somerset.
Number of mercenarymen now, the three counties of England, and the Tudor household. And the indefinable Mr. Cadle is telling us that they are so going to win. We hear you, we hear you. Keep believing.
Queen Margaret's army is a strange mixture, because most of it are recently recruited farm boys who've never seen a battle and are mostly scared stiff. But there are also some very experienced and hard-bitten men among them. The Yorkist archers are holding their ground there because they know that something is going to come up behind them very soon and reinforce them.
We appear to have pre-battle snacks. Nobody expected a picnic. I just heard a shout then of a York. Did you hear that?
Those of you on the right can see pretty clearly. Those of you on the left have the magnificent spectacle of the army of Lancaster forming up, with the Duke of Somerset's division close to you, Lord Wenlock and the Queen and the Prince beyond, and on the far side, the Earl of Devon. Everybody is now waiting for the Yorkists to appear, and they are appearing. They're appearing in two divisions. From the Midlands of Lord Hastings. Hastings is going to have the right wing, which means he's facing the Earl of Devon on the Lancastrian side. And they're well matched. Like Devon, Hastings is a solid, loyal, dependable, unimaginative nobleman. Can be relied upon to do what he's asked to do. You don't look here for brilliance or great military panache, but he can hold a position. Them on the right is the last character to introduce to you this afternoon. He is a teenager, just like the Lancastrian Edward, Prince of Wales. His name is Richard, and he is the youngest brother of King Edward. Like the Prince of Wales, he's in his late teens. To take him out, marshalling his forces behind them. They're the people closest to you on the crowd line on the right, to anchor the left wing of the Yorkist army. So our cast of characters is now complete, and the remnants of the armies are almost on the field, with the rear of the Yorkists now streaming in from the right to take their place, and the whole of the army of Lancaster on the far left, in front of you there.
Now bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, as the battle unfolds, talking to each other, they are busy sending runners between the different divisions. There are 3 divisions. You've got Hastings versus Devon, you've got the centres versus each other, then you have the Duke of Gloucester versus the Duke of Somerset, closest to the crowd line now. There is, I believe, going to be some kind of meeting or a parley.
Yes, you have a wonderful view now of the 2 royal households and bodyguards heading forward. What we are reconstructing for you here is a last-ditch attempt by the 2 opposed bunches of royals to patch together an agreement to try and avoid the slaughter of thousands of people. Margaret in black and white, with her son just behind her and to her left with the 3 white plumes. And now Margaret faces Edward.
And Edward's gone out bareheaded. Is that a sign of respect or quite the opposite? I'm not sure. They're talking. They're gesticulating.
He's jabbing a finger at her. This is not respect. No. She's getting livid. Body language bad. Prince Edward looking uneasy.
I think he's asking you to give up and go home, basically. Oh!
Queen Margaret has just slapped King Edward across the chops. You can almost hear it from here. And thereby broken off the parley.
I think you can quite categorically say that parley has failed, hasn't it?
Yes, battle will now be joined, which means that one or the other army is going to be slaughtered.
The Yorkist army, although they are now all dismounted, we know a lot of the men had enough money to ride up on horseback. As was typical of battles of this period, they've now got off the horses to fight. This was what they actually did. However, the Lancastrian army, we know a lot of the men were on foot. The Lancastrians were also bringing quite a lot of artillery pieces with them, which they had to... coming behind them have basically snaffled the Lancastrian guns with glee and are now outgunning the Lancastrians, as you can hear.
Kat and I are kind of hoping that the wind will not blow in our direction.
We are.
You can see the smoke, the famous fog of war, billowing out. And as Kat and I both know, not only does that stuff burn your nostrils because it's sulphur, but if you get that into your mouth, it's quite a powerful laxative.
Devil's underwear drawer after a very, very heavy week. And also bear in mind, the loudest sound a lot of these people would have heard would have probably been thunder. These artillery pieces, these handguns, would have caused a lot of fear, confusion. We do know that sometimes men would hear the guns going off and would turn tail and run, literally voiding their bowels in fear as they ran. You can just see the Lancastrian handgunners there reloading their weapons. Some of them have got pavises, the big shields, which they can put the guns on top of in order to steady them, to get some sort of aim, or they can hide behind them, take some of the pressure of the shots they're receiving away.
Have a care tells you not only to get out of the way when the thing is fired, but also to stand with your mouth open and to cup your hands near but not around your ears. And that way you protect your eardrums.
See, the very still conditions today mean the smoke is lingering. This, on the sort of still, hot May day the battle took place on, would have done exactly the same thing. Makes limited visibility even worse.
What's happening here is crucial for the battle. You will have heard the deeper tone doing the Lancastrian guns, which means that Lancaster either has to retire to avoid taking a pounding, or it has to attack and silence the guns and try and rout the army behind them. There's a lot of discussion going on in the Lancastrian ranks about what to do. I see the impetuous Somerset gesticulating and stamping.
Whereas Lord Wenlock in the centre, he's a redoubtable fighter, veteran of many campaigns. He's much more steady, much more calm. This is so much bread and butter to him, and of course a very dependable Earl of Devon over there. John Courtney, his men follow him into the jaws of hell, and today they may have to. Move in this battle. What do you think?
I think it's absolutely certain that Lancaster's preparing for attack. They're bunching together, they're shouldering their weapons, and now they're moving forward. In order to win this battle, each side really needs to do two things now. The first is for the different divisions to cooperate. The second is for the different commanders to cooperate. Whichever of these equally matched bodies of men manages those two things better is going to win this battle. And it looks immediately, I think you'd agree, Kat, that Lancaster is not actually handling the first of those very well. Richard of Gloucester's men. But if they can break through them, they'll roll up the Yorkist army like a ribbon and win the battle, and Somerset will be a hero.
I think this might be what he's relying on. I don't think he's quite realised the equal numbers, though.
Yes, long words like logistics are a bit hard for somebody like Somerset. Engage now. They're fighting as hard as men who are tired out from yesterday's march can do.
And there's covering fire going on from the Lancastrian guns still. Who are holding their own, but there's nothing convincing happening.
Absolutely right, Kat. They're not breaking through. Young Richard of Gloucester is holding them with his followers. The nation here is worrying. But yes, absolutely right, Kat. Somerset's men are breaking away. The attempt to deal a right hook to the House of York has just failed. But note, unlike Somerset, he hasn't kept on going. He's halted his men, got them into order, and is waiting for the king and Hastings to catch up.
Yes, and of course, I don't know whether we've mentioned this today, but Richard of Gloucester goes on to become somebody very, very famous indeed. And this is one of his first battles. He is a very, very good soldier, a very good leader, very good statesman.
And Somerset's men are too worn out for the time being to be able to go in. I can see steam coming out of Somerset's ears. He's literally jumping up and down. He's at his wit's end, but admittedly that's never a long journey.
Do you know, I think if there was a fighting style to describe Somerset, it would be kicking, gouging, swearing and headbutting.
Lord Somerset's division have done. The Prince of Wales division is the last to retire. You can see how reluctant the young prince is to break off the action. But even he is forced to recognise it's time to retreat and reform.
Well, if he can just get through this, he knows that his uncle, Jasper Tudor, has got a huge force of Welsh and French mercenaries going back to France and giving this as a bad job once she heard the news about the Kingmaker's death. But Somerset has persuaded her, no, she has a very good chance of winning and to carry on. So much of this battle is down to Edmund Beaufort, the Duke of Somerset.
And on the right-hand side, you can see now that Richard of Gloucester is leading up his men, and the rest of the Yorkist army following suit. The Yorkists have decided to counter-attack. They're not going to stand still and take a hammering any longer. And broken. But the Lancastrians are not going to retreat either. Somerset's now bringing up his division in parallel with the rest of the army. And the two sides are facing each other, each one working out whether to launch an attack is the wisest course.
Oh, the centres are now engaging at a run. That was very, very fast. We get asked quite a lot, is that hot? Are you hot in that? Is that heavy? Yes, and yet they can still bring a charge at the gallop like that when they have to.
The Yorkist advance has failed. It's Lancaster that still holds the initiative, and the whole Lancastrian army is now attacking all over again. And this time it's cooperating.
Oh, that wasn't that good. Just on the crowd line now, those gentlemen were frustrated. They really wanted to go through. One little party of men there, led by the man with the red helmet on, just going through from the Lancastrian lines, trying to hit the Yorkist line hard enough to punch a hole through it. Once you've broken through their line, you've got them into fragments, and you can deal with the fragments one at a time. Sadly, they didn't punch through.
That is now withdrawing, and his men are trickling back behind him, relying on the fact that their opponents are again too worn out to be able to follow them rapidly. Lancaster's gamble has failed for a third time, but the Yorkists still haven't got the initiative. It's still Lancaster doing all the attacking, and the Yorkists, though they're moving slowly forward, are always on the defensive.
War of attrition, Mr. Cable, war of attrition. I think it would look something like a dance, sort of in, out, shake it all about, kill your partner, turn around. That's what it's just me, okay. So Duke of Gloucester looks like he means business. He's walking up at a fairly decent pace. Looks a little bit cheesed off. This man has suffered since birth from scoliosis, a curvature of the spine, which he's worked very hard to build up his muscles and compensate for. Now, I know on a sort of real level what this is like. My sister has the condition herself, and I know how hard she has to work to remain mobile and strong. This man's on a battlefield wearing armour. I mean, his courage against what is a painful condition is admirable.
Yes, young Richard has been beaten into steel on the anvil of ambition. He's endured years of racking pain to build up his muscles, to take advantage of his own strength and overcome the condition. And he's not going to give up. He's somebody who is determined to leave a great name right into the Lancastrian centre. And the entire Yorkist army is advancing to left and to right to support their king in that central charge.
I can say as a reenactor that when you march in like this and you see the enemy charging their bills low like that, you know what you're walking into is the equivalent of walking into a food mixer, and it is going to hurt. Yes, we're using blunt weapons. Yes, they are still made of real steel. Yes, you get bruised. You have the bath of pain at the end of the day. This doesn't kill us. It makes us stronger. This doesn't kill us, but it does hurt. Back in the day, that would have been injuries. That would have been fatalities. That would have been people having holes, limbs gouged off, eyes gouged out. This is a scene of horror. That very small platoon led by the man in the red helmet. You can see they're bracing themselves so that they don't get through. They're physically leaning against each other, a bit like a rugby scrum, so that small troop of men don't get through. They're breaking the Yorkist lines there. Meanwhile, further up the field, the battle is raging. The archers are still raining down death upon each other and upon that flank. His banner flying towards the back of his troops. You see some of his Irish mercenaries there in the long mustard yellow coloured tunic. It's called a laner, means shirt in Irish. So they very, very brave fighters. They are the Gallo class, and they have been brought over from Ireland, paid well, but they do fight like wild animals.
And the Yorkists are retiring. It's the centre that's going first, led by their king. The Yorkist attack has now failed by the Lancastrian centre.
Now the men are withdrawing, both sides withdrawing out, and they're starting to get a bit fed up, to be honest with you. They just want something to happen. What they have done, though, is they've chosen, or asked for volunteers, or some of their best fighters, to settle this. Maybe
Were really well trained in the use of the sword.
yes, we often get asked, are the fights choreographed? Absolutely not. So what you saw there was real, in no way choreographed. And the fact he's now wellying 7 shades of something smelly out of him with his fist, also not choreographed. You're seeing it happen in real time. Oh, first one there. Bit of a tickle to the breastplate. Haven't quite killed you, mate. You're staying down. Could kill it if I wanted to, but nah, not going to. Well, I think the Yorkist in the crowd line is getting very much bested by the grizzled veteran there. He's definitely getting beaten. Would appear to be the Lancastrians aren't doing so well.
Are coming to their king's help, and the Lancastrians to that of their prince. And in a completely unplanned way, battle's been joined in the centre, and both wings of the Yorkist army are surging forward to engage their enemy and take advantage of the death of Lord Wenlock. Somerset's preparing his men to receive attack.
They don't look very enthusiastic.
And they don't look very well prepared.
They don't. Somerset there at the back. appear to be giving any kind of command whatsoever.
I suspect Somerset's trying to come to terms with the full enormity of what he's just done to Lord Wenlock.
Do you actually think he has that depth of emotional intelligence?
Probably not.
No.
But at any rate, he's probably now looking across the horizon for a place of safety.
Yes, I can't say I blame him. But in order to get to any place of safety, he has a river to the back of him, and the back. Meanwhile, further up the field, oh look at that, beautiful! Gunners do have souls. That is a gunner's halo.
Which only goes to show that Cannon likes showing off as well. Somerset's men are breaking. They're being forced back. Richard's men are breaking through.
And look, towards the back of the field, towards the left flank, they're running off.
Dash their way through the Yorkist ranks, but the Yorkists are closing in behind them. And what they're now doing is legging it. Somerset is leading his men in a disgraceful flight from the field, heading for what he thinks is safety at Tewkesbury Abbey, leaving the rest of his men to die hopelessly behind him. In front of your eyes on the left, the entire Lancastrian army is breaking into pieces and strewing the field with its corpses.
The ones that aren't dead are running away, and we know they've got river to the...
His men here to count the dead, rally his men, wait for orders from his king. Facing up to King Edward's Guard, right there in the centre, the two remaining bodies of loyal household troops are joining combat. And this can go only one way, because the Lancastrians are outnumbered. Each time they fight back, more and more Yorkists come in to surround and dispatch them. And the young prince, who has lost his helmet, stands there bareheaded. If it brings you into the picture even better, ladies and gentlemen, both of our reenactors who are playing the... Now the Prince of Wales kneels in prayer.
Oh look, the Duke of Gloucester, they have to hold him back.
Yes, young Richard was running forward to tackle the Prince, but King Edward has decided he's going to take him himself, sending forward two of his best swordsmen to face the teenager, demanding that he surrender. And the Prince has just killed one of the attackers, and then killed the second. That was superb swordsmanship. And now he's challenging the king. And this is the final shootout, or slice out. It's Edward against Edward. The veteran king, muscular, mature, the teenage prince. The prince is faster, more energetic, more supple. The king is heavier, harder, more experienced. They're equally matched, and they're going to fight. A piece of the king's armour has just been cut away, And he's just taken a blow to the head from the hilt of the prince's sword. The teenage Edward the Prince is doing wonderfully, totally alone, surrounded by enemies, and yet he might just kill his own greatest enemy. And in modern terms, this is superb swordsmanship.
Oh, the king's sword's gone. The king's saying, I can still take you.
The king has lost his sword, which probably wasn't supposed to happen. And the prince, tired as he is trying to grapple, but the king has seized his blade, lost it again,
Deflected it.
and has brought
broken
the prince to his knees and broken his shoulder. Smashed the back of his head, and brought him badly wounded to lie on his face as the Yorkists cheer their king rapturally, and the badly wounded teenage boy struggles to his knees.
Is
The
this
crown,
worth dying for?
the crown of England is brought to mock him on the king's helmet. The king offers him his life if the boy agrees to surrender and give in. And the king, the prince shouts Lancaster, and the king cuts his throat. Played by these people.
And just as a nice point, the galloper,
And we seem agreed they've done wonderfully.
the galloper who came across the field, the beautiful horse, well, the ballast on top of the horse is the father of the young Prince of Wales, so they're keeping it in the family.